Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our EAFC 25 career mode here with Southampton. We're returning today off the back of a pretty decent run of form in the previous episode. Back-to-back wins in the Premier League that has given us just a glimmer of hope that we may potentially be able to sneak into a European spot. Still lots of work to do, but it has been a good run of form for the Saints. I said at the start of the season I would take a top half finish, but if we can sneak into a European spot, then what a massive overachievement for Southampton. We're back today with the penultimate episode of Season 2. We're going to play through 6 of our remaining 7 games in the Premier League and come back in the next episode to close out the season and do a full season roundup. But of course, before we get there, 6 big games today as we look to try and close the gap to Spurs, Arsenal and West Ham, all above us in the Premier League. Kicking off with a visit from Unai Emery's Aston Villa here at St Mary's on the south coast. I'd say we probably need 4, maybe even 5 wins in our remaining 7 games to try and close the gap to Spurs in 7th. So I'd love to get one here against Emery's side. Come on, you Saints. Yeah, massive game this for both sides as Aston Villa still rank outsiders to potentially win the Premier League this season. They're still up there and still fighting for it. So a big clash for both teams as we still have that chance of making European football. We're off the back of that fantastic 4-0 win against West Ham at the end of the previous episode. Definitely our best win of the save, and it was the man highlighted in the top corner, Sem Stein, who absolutely ran the show for us. He gets the start again today in place of Mateus Fernandes, and I'm hoping he can have a similar impact today. Now, Batawu down the right, going to need a colleague, and finds that man Stein as he goes on. Still Stein, who lets fly, and it's not too far away from that top corner, and starting to build partnerships as well. I know that's not a thing in FC, but I used to play quite a bit of Football Manager, and of course, as your sort of save progressed and your team progressed, you build up relationships with players on the pitch, and it feels like we're starting to get that in all areas. Solé and Taylor building up a really nice partnership at CB. And probably my favourite is Yusuf and Flynn Downs in the middle. What a midfield partnership those two have turned into. As Downs finds Ben. He's away from Kamara. There's Evanilson, and it's a big save by the Frenchman Chevalier, and Carl Walker-Peters is offside on the follow-up. But at the moment, is all one-way traffic towards that Aston Villa goal. Well, so far, Aston Villa just haven't really turned up for this one. And as we look to come forward again, it's Ben and Leaf in space. And there's Evanilson! And this time we do have the breakthrough. It's been coming. And finally, Southampton have their goal. Brilliant work by Leif Davis down the left. Pegs it back to Evanilson. And the Brazilian reaches double digits in the Premier League. His 10th goal in the league this season. Takes a little nick off Alaba, but we won't care as Southampton take the lead just before the break at St Mary's. And there's Stein. And they're backing off him. And Stein goes on and hits it, and Chevalier pushes it over the top. Corner for the Saints. Fatawu. Dangerous ball. Evanilson. It's loose. Keepers on the deck, and Aston Villa clear. What a first half from the Saints, and if anything, we should be leading by more than 1. Need to put the game to bed in the second, because I'm sure Aston Villa will come out with a point to prove in that second 45 period. We only got the 1 goal, but the 1 goal was enough to claim all 3 points, and that's a big victory against an Aston Villa side who are high flying and pushing for the Premier League title, and we absolutely battered them today. You'll see from the highlights, we were all over them and we deserved the victory. Massive win to potentially keep our chances of European football alive. Right then, keeping the games rolling, Newcastle once again at St Mary's, and if we can win here, with us being 8 points behind the Geordies, that will close the gap to 5 with just 5 games to play. So still a lot of work to be done, a lot of if, buts and maybes, but all we can do is win our games and hope that the teams around us slip up. Still sat in 10th place, but now just 3 points behind the Hammers as well. So Newcastle at St Mary's off the back of 3 wins in a row, looking to make it 4 here against the Magpies. Come on, you Saints. And now it's Davis and Fernandes back in the starting lineup today. Has to work his way back into the team if he wants to keep that starting lineup spot. Leaf, was he onside? He was. Evanilson coming around the back, maybe a little bit off balance, but still a fantastic chance for the Brazilian, who's in fine form at the moment, but he couldn't hit the target as he was stumbling. Davis out to Brereton Diaz. Speaking of relationships in the previous game, those two have worked up a nice one down this left side, and there goes Brereton Diaz again in behind. Oh, and that's surely a penalty, as the former Southampton man Tino Livramento flies in, doesn't win the ball, and a definite spot kick. The Brazilian and our top scorer Evanilson to stand up and take it, and he scores. Goal number 11 of the season. Evanilson, I believe that makes it now his last 3 games that he scored in, which is probably his best run of the campaign. And St Mary's is bouncing again as the Saints lead. Just thinking about it as we get underway in the second half, it's actually his last 4 that Evanilson has netted in. It was Brighton here in the not a South Coast derby in the previous episode, followed by a goal at the London Stadium in the 4-0 win against West Ham. And then he's netted in the previous game the winner against Aston Villa, and here against Newcastle as well. So goals in his last 4 appearances. He's really on fire at the moment as he tests David Soraya there with another decent effort on goal, and he is really in the mood. Now Camavinga, it's a nice ball into Isak, no one with him, but he does lay it off for Joel Linton. Elects not to shoot and finds Camavinga, looking for Joel Linton and Isak, and what a scrappy goal. But Newcastle are back on level terms. We couldn't find the second goal. And I always say it, when the scoreline is just 1, you're always in with a chance of rescuing a point. And with Muric at a goal, he couldn't recover as he looked to hold on for another clean sheet. But Newcastle back on level terms. The Saints pegged back. Gordon, nice ball into Camavinga. Come on, let's not lose it. Isak. Joel Linton back to Alexander Isak, and we are going to lose it. A quick turnaround, and it's the big Swede that's at the heart of it. I have to say, the 2 games in today's episode have been much better than we saw in the previous episode, with a couple of low-scoring fixtures. I do think changing the half length to 4 minutes has really made a difference. Unfortunately, it's going to have a negative impact here, as Alexander Isak with a quick-fire double has completely turned this game on its head. There is the whistle, and Newcastle do hold on. A quick-fire double from the Swede single-handedly wins them the game, in which we were comfortable up until that first goal around the 70-75 minute mark. But that might mean that we're unable to catch Newcastle from here, and we're relying on Spurs to drop some points between now and the end of the season. Still a slim chance that we do qualify for Europe, as our games do get slightly easier from here on out, but we practically need to win, I'd say, all but one of our remaining fixtures. Well, a much more winnable game here, as again we're at home at St Mary's as we take on Leeds United. now 9 points behind Spurs with just 5 to play. It's looking unlikely, and we will need some favours from other teams. We've also got Liverpool and West Ham above us as well. I think we're just a little bit too short of the mark, but we will continue pushing right until the end. Great opportunity to put the pressure on Spurs with a victory here. And despite losing that previous game, it has still been a good run of form for the Saints. So we need to make sure we carry that on, and we will probably have to win all of our remaining 5 games if we are to qualify. Starting off here with a victory against Leeds. Come on, you Saints. Oh, Wood's got to be careful. No, 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 no. Brendan Aronson in behind, and it's straight at Muric. And it's a big save by the Kosovan. He's not been forced into anything all game long, and that is why concentration as a goalkeeper is so important. Big save at the end of the half, but as you can see there, Evanilson being kept quiet by that Leeds defence. Well, there is the whistle, and it's not the result we were looking for. Really poor game today, and the conditions played a big effect. Getting my excuses out of the way, but in the heavy rain I just couldn't play any sort of free-flowing attacking football. We didn't create anything, and Evanilson, well, that says it there. 0 attempts in the game. We just couldn't get him into things. I think each keeper only really had one real save of note, and that really is 2 points dropped, and that might be the end of our quest for European football. Let's go and take a look at the table. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's over now, with Spurs beating Wolves by 2-1 at Molineux. They go 11 points clear of us. West Ham, Liverpool, Arsenal and Newcastle all yet to play but have a healthy lead. The only team we might catch is West Ham, just 2 points behind. But as I say, they've all got a game to play. And our next fixture here, taking on league leaders Chelsea, going for the title. Currently have a 6-point gap over Manchester United, who do have a game in hand. So yeah, I think they probably need it a little bit more than us. We want to make that push for Europe, but it's very unlikely. I'll keep pushing until the very end, and if we can pull off a big shock victory here away at Stamford Bridge, that will certainly help. Come on, you Saints. Yeah, I mean, there is still a chance that Wolves, who are just below us in the table, could go on a run and finish above us in 10th. But I do think it's unlikely. I think the lowest we're likely to finish now is 10th, which was sort of my pipe dream at the beginning of the season. And it's become a bit of a reality as Evanilson is denied by our former keeper, Aaron Ramsdale. Well, all square after 45 minutes, and it's not a terrible result against the league leaders. I just wish we had these conditions against Leeds the other day. Sun shining, and we have played some nice football in stages, but just struggling to break Chelsea down. We could have, yeah, as I say, could have done with this against Leeds in the previous game when I was really struggling to play any sort of decent football. But yeah, just not really creating too much at the moment, but it does only take one moment to win a football match. So still lots of football to be played. We'll see what happens. Jackson back to Ugachukwu. Palmer, what a ball. Jackson strike, and there's the first real save of the game. Well, that is pretty much going to do it. Maybe one last chance for us to break as Ben plays it over the top for Leif Davis. And Leif to the byline, swings the cross in for Tawu coming in, and Gaia does well at the back post, and that is going to do it. Another 0-0 draw in the Premier League for Southampton. Yeah, just need to eradicate some of these draws and turn them into victories. We still don't score enough goals. We have been better at it this year, but just not on a consistent enough basis. Back-to-back 0-0 draws. A point that takes Chelsea ever closer to the title. It is still theirs to lose with 3 games remaining. Well, you know what, guys? I've just realised now that we're at the beginning of May, we should have our final batch of academy updates, our youth scouts. And where are they? Have they ended? Have I missed them? Have I really missed them? Hang on. Oh, I've lost a whole load of players there. I mean, there weren't any absolute gems that we were scouting. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 ridiculously good players in the academy. But there were a few more that I was scouting that I will have missed out on. That is a shame. That is my own fault, so I can only apologise for that. I thought it was the beginning of May. Scout 1 available, Scout 2 available, Scout 3 available. Yeah, I think I've missed it. I didn't get notified about it. It didn't end the simulation as I was simming through. So that is really rather annoying. But I guess there is nothing we can do about it. Heading into our next game, travelling to Selhurst Park to take on Crystal Palace. Actually still fighting for their lives down at the bottom. It looks as if one of either Sheffield United, Leeds or the Eagles will be heading down alongside Nottingham Forest and Luton. So massive game here for Glasner's side, as they probably only need one more win to pretty much secure their safety in the top flight. I'm hoping it's not going to come here though, because after back-to-back 0-0 draws, I want us to be returning to winning ways. Very, very winnable 2 final fixtures in today's episode, as we travel to Selhurst Park and then take on the Bees at St Mary's. So looking to close out the episode with 2 wins. Come on, you Saints. Looking for a positive start here at Selhurst Park. The crowd is up, but Evanilson smashes that into the side netting. Good chance for the Brazilian. But yeah, we need to quieten this crowd down, because they know that 3 points here will be absolutely huge in their survival in the top flight. Big early chance for Evanilson. In the form he's been in over the last couple of weeks, you would have expected him to bury that, but into the side netting, and Crystal Palace survived. But this has been a promising start from the Saints, as Fatawu looks for Stein. Promising opening half an hour this from the Saints, but still no goal to show for it. Brereton Diaz, nice feet. Evanilson and Stein, great chance and a big save by Joe Whitworth. Stein's been playing some good stuff recently, but denied there by the Englishman. Fatawu to swing the corner in. Evanilson's header, and it's gone back behind for a corner. Fatawu with a little bit more power, looking for Evanilson, and this time it does drift wide as he's on the stretch. Downs gets there first. Brereton Diaz round the corner for Evanilson. Looking to get it back to Brereton Diaz. And Evanilson on the spin. There's the goal that's been coming. And the Brazilian's back on target again. He must have scored almost 50% of our goals in the league this season, if not more. As Evanilson, well, that's what we signed him for. The Brazilian spins Calafiori and belts it into the top corner past Whitworth. 12th goal of the season now, I believe, for Evanilson, and what a signing he has proved to be. Oh, Fatawu, strong tackle, but a fair one. And there is Stein. And Fatawu again. Danger here for Palace. Edge of the box is Walker Peters. Doesn't get many, but Walker Peters lets fly. And Whitworth has to turn it away. Ismail Assar forward for Mateta, and it's good defending by Taylor, stood his ground well. Lerma's won that back. Trouble. Sarr, what a tackle, Soleil. What a tackle by the big central defender. And that's why you have to be so careful when you're just leading by 1, not to allow teams back into it. And finally, there is the whistle. Crystal Palace were desperate to get something out of that, and they did kind of stick in, dig in, but were unable to get anything out of the game. Another solid defensive display from Taylor Harwood-Bellis and Omar Soleil at the back. Another clean sheet, and Evanilson, with his 12th league goal of the season, secures the 3 points for the Saints. Well, heading into the final game of today's episode and the penultimate game of the season, Chelsea need just a point away at the City Ground to crown themselves as champions. Manchester United 4 behind. Aston Villa and Manchester City currently making up the top 4, but it is so tight. It's a shame we couldn't turn some of those draws, into wins, because the race for European football is so tight. We look as if we're deadlocked in 10th. We could still catch West Ham, but they travel to Crystal Palace. And then who do they face on the final day? It's Arsenal at home. So we could potentially jump up to 9th, but it is unlikely. And Brighton now can't catch us. But let's jump into it then. Final game of today's episode. And as I say, the penultimate one of the season as we host Brentford at St Mary's. We've already got 13 more points on the board than we secured last year, but we've actually only scored 3 more goals, which is astonishing to me because it feels like we've scored a lot more this season. I suppose as long as we're winning and climbing up the table and progressing, it doesn't matter to me too much. But looking for a win to close out today's episode. Come on, you Saints. Stein gets away from Onyeka. Still Stein. Gets it out to Edozie. Nice move. Edozie from the angle. Well saved by the Brentford keeper. It was a tight angle, but didn't really have anyone to pull it back to. There's Stein again. Looking a real threat at the moment. Goes over and thankfully gets back to his feet. But again, in the early stages, it's all Southampton pressure. Brereton Diaz, what a ball. Stein, oh Stein, what a brilliant ball by Brereton Diaz, and Stein just can't stop getting in on the act at the moment. Yeah, especially in the last few weeks in this sort of run-in period, he's really made that position his own, and he's keeping Fernandes out of the side, and there he is again playing a lovely ball. Brereton Diaz strikes, and it's well blocked, but he is pulling all the strings at the moment, and I'm really feeling a difference when he's in the team over Fernandes. So something to consider heading into the summer transfer window and beyond, as we've already had a few big bids for the Portuguese playmaker as Yoane Wissa bends home the equalising goal, and we could be in for a thriller here at St Mary's. Wissa again causing issues. Is that onside? Yes, it is. Flag stays down. Kevin Schade gives Brentford the lead. And this is not the way we wanted to close out our home campaign this season. Well, big second half needed here to turn this around because we were in control. We saw a similar thing against Newcastle earlier on. A goal up, lost it 2-1. And there's not too much to play for as Richarlison's onside, and what a tackle. Ben into Leaf. Lovely run. Davis in behind. Can he finish? No, he can't. 20 minutes to play here. We've been kind of huffing and puffing in this second half, but haven't done too much with the ball. Pinnock finds Wissa, and Richarlison rounds it off for Brentford. Big victory for the Bees away on the south coast, and the Brazilian gets Brentford's third, and it's not very often you see Southampton conceding 3. Trademark celebration, but not the way we wanted to end our home campaign in the Premier League. And yeah, that is going to do it. Really disappointing way to end today's episode, but Southampton completely fell apart after scoring the opening goal. We're normally so solid at holding on to what we've got, but Brentford, and in particular Yoane Wissa, caused me issues all day long, and well, we just couldn't keep them out. Brentford score 3, and not many teams have done that this year, especially not here at St Mary's, but a really disappointing final home game of the season. Alright then guys, that is where we will leave it for today's episode. A little bit of a disappointing end with the loss to Brentford, but there is quite a big gap already to the sides below us. Brighton Brentford themselves and Fulham a good 10-11 points behind us, but then there is also quite a big gap to those European spots above us, so something to consider for next year. Are we good enough to take that next step up and be competing for European football? If we are, we need to start turning some of the draws into victories and certainly be scoring more goals. Still, just 23 goals scored this season is just way too low. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. We'll be back in the next one to close out the Premier League season away at Manchester United, who need a win to have any chance of winning the Premier League title, as it is still in the balance. Although with Chelsea at home to Luton, it is looking very unlikely. But I'll catch you in the next episode very soon, where we'll close out season 2 of The Save. Take care, guys, and peace.